Hey dear Tyler, good morning. Happy new month. Probably I'd say it's happy. 2 new months, and it's been a long, long time. I had a very eventful, let's say 3 months from June, July, August. Very eventful 3 months, and just so much that was, happening around my own life. And yeah, I couldn't just get myself honestly to do episodes. I remember there was a time where, I even said, okay, I was going to record and, curate one or two things like that. And as I was just doing it, I did not feel the heart, the general heartfelt expressions of dear Tyler. And I just said, nah, that I know being absent is not, the best. My absence, this long period of absence is not the best, but then I think it would be worse to push out any material or to push out any episode where the heart was missing, right? Just because an episode was posted doesn't mean that my heart was in it or that I was even present at that time. I just told myself, no. So I said I wasn't going to do it. And I've had, I think, some time to, relax. Remember, three of my friends reached out to me, Marvelous, Hope, and Joy. Reached out and like, oh, how far dear Tyler and everything. And I know Joy was just like, okay, if you really need that break, take it and all. But then it got to a point where she had to ask, like, okay, okay, are you still, like, taking a break, or have you closed the chapter and everything? But we had a very nice discussion, and just spoke, and I'm so glad that, Hope reached out. He just noticed that I had not posted for a while, and still showed his support. Marv consistently knocking on the doors. Thank God for friends, and there are a lot of other people, that have been very supportive in this season. I honestly want to appreciate my family. So for the longest time, I don't think, sometimes the most forgotten people are family people, and it's usually because of familiarity. Thus, the word familiarity, you get because of family and all. Because you see them a lot, you related with them a lot, you spent majority of your life is with them, and it's going to be with them, and sometimes you can get to the point where you don't recognize how much of a part that they played in your life. And I want to thank my family, my brother, Galea, my sister, Nalora. They've come through for me in such tremendous ways. They've just been a great support. My car has been giving me a lot of headaches, and I'm just glad that today I was able to take it to work. I remember when I was talking to my sister, I think yesterday, and she was just like saying, oh, thank God for the car, just pray on the car, before going. And yeah, it did. And the car behaved, and it shall behave. It shall keep on behaving to not give me issues again in Jesus' name, as we trust God for, more gifts and higher levels. But it will serve, and so it took a toll on me, plenty things that I may not be able to get into. I feel that are maybe a little bit too personal, to share at this moment. But want to just thank God for family support. Nash, Enya, all of them, my family, just in general, everybody has been such great help, and I'm just using this moment to give a shout out to everyone. Thank you guys so much. I don't really have a thought process for this episode. I just got to work a little bit early, and I said, okay, let me record, and just get the ball rolling again. Sorry for plenty filler words. It's just the whole unplanned thing. So what do we talk about? Honestly, my mind is just absolutely blank. Maybe I'll just say maybe some of the things I've learned about myself and about things in this season. I think number one is I realize how much I need God. I realize how much I need Him. I have always, I've always had these moments for me where I'm always trying to fix up things, do things on my own, right? I've always thrived on knowing that I solve my problems, or I made it, navigated through life or seasons in that way or manner. I've always thrived on that, basically through my upbringing, and so getting to the point where I'm absolutely helpless scares the living daylight out of me. I'm absolutely helpless. I am broken to the core, and so I do everything within my power to never get to that point, but it made me so self-dependent, and I acknowledge God for His Godship, but I do not acknowledge Him by giving Him a space to actually navigate the course of my life. Do you understand? So it's Lord, I honor you, I worship you, I reverence you, but I've got this figured out, right? And then somehow put that, religious regalia and be Father, I owe it all to God, but deep within you, you're it's by my strength, by my strength. And I think these past 3 months, life crippled me. Oh Lord. I did everything that my mind could fathom. I did everything that my expertise, could conjure. And absolutely nothing came out. Everything that I did didn't work. I say everything, it didn't work. And the only times that things worked for me was when I got down broken and I just said, God help me. God help me. And so my sister, talking to me yesterday saying that, before you enter into the car, just pray. It just kind of reminded me that, Siba, no matter what it is, just give it to God. This thing that we call dedicating things to God, right? Just give it to God. You cannot bear the burden of certain things. And so, major lesson I learned that I need God. Oh no, I'm helpless without Him. There was this day that I was stuck, broke, So they'd come to pick up the car, and I didn't even have, the cash for fixing up the car and everything. And I'd just gotten a cold. And I just, sleep and wake up to an alert from my friend, Zay. Now, I remember that night that I slept off, I was like, God, you've got to come through for me, like I've got nothing. Right? And an alert just comes from Zay, and it's like, oh my God, and do my best, thank her, everything, and all. But then it was just like a reminder that ultimately, Binga, you've just got to get to the point where you are totally helpless, that you acknowledge it, that you're helpless without God. And not just that you're helpless without God, but that in every part of your life, right, that you really, really give God that space, that you're deliberately saying that this wheel of destiny, it's you that's going to navigate it and all. So that's one thing I learned. Number 2, I learned that I am extremely, extremely flawed. Extremely, extremely flawed. I'm not. I know I have good attributes in me, right? There are things in me that, I do celebrate. I won't come and lie and say that now it's not a big deal. No, there are parts of me that are really good, but then there's a lot about me that now I realized that it was just all over the place and it was absolutely out of it. I realized that I could be insensitive. I realized I could be overly emotional. I realized I could be absent. I realized I could be petty. I realized I could be, just all over it, to be honest. I realized that I could be the worst of the worst. I realized that I could be the worst of the worst, to be honest. And I had to get to the point of telling myself the truth that, Binga, you're not that prim and proper guy. And I had to, start working on how things affect me. I realized that things affect me in terrible ways. And I had to get to the point and tell myself that, no, you've got to learn to rise above these things, that you cannot allow the things happening in your life affect your life, right? They're things. They're not big enough to stop you from, taking steps. I found out certain strengths in me, and then I also realized that there were a lot of weaknesses. And I cried out to God for help, and I'm talking to God, working with God and asking God to help me that I'm very imperfect. I'm extremely imperfect. And the parts of me that I do not take a hold on, the parts of me that I do not take a full hold on, would really be my undoing in the future. So that's another thing that I learned. The third thing that I learned is we need men. Men in the context of the human species, So let me say we need men and women. We need people in our lives. That's one thing I realized. That the amount of people who believe in you really, really speaks a lot to the trajectory of your life. So, like I said, I was crippled these past 3 months. Crippled. And one thing I came to realize is that God brought various people into my life. There were those that spoke to me, advised me, gave me the counsel that I needed to move forward. there were those that took it upon themselves to pray for me. Acknowledging people like Dr. Shalom and Vicky, his wife. I don't know how God just placed my thoughts in their hearts, and whenever I'm in trouble, they just know, they just call or something, and they're taking out time praying for me, receiving counsel, having people, just reach out, do stuff, and then having my friends like Lisha, Ima, having friends like Jenny, we're just having conversations, every time we open, how are you? You get just different people, coming into your life at a particular point, being down health-wise. You have friends like Thelma that consistently have you taking your medication and stuff like that. See, it's easier to go through life when you have that emotional support, or the human support in general, right? So in whatever way they come. So I realized that I had the emotional support through men. I had the financial support through men. I had the psychological support through men. I had the spiritual support through men. There were people, my prayer secretary in the worship team has been immense for me, immense. I have people that when my car was bad, were there to take me home. People like David in ushering department, Koinonia, being so supportive. Mommy Mo in the worship team, and people just calling, out of, it's just like, oh, your thought came to my heart. People like Hawa, Fisayo. I could take out time and name people. And I just realized that now that it's very, very important that you have people around you that can support you. And I'm grateful to God for that. And I've taken that prayer for men seriously. Like, God, please send me men, or send me men, send me helpers, right? And in the context of all of this, it's also very important to know that you do not define your help. When you ask God to send help for you, when the help comes, don't define who is capable of helping you or not. Yeah, so that's the context in which I'm talking about. It's very, 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 very wrong. You may think what you need is financial help, but at that point in time, money would only magnify some of the issues, right? And we went for a meeting, me and my prayer secretary, David Bashi, on Monday. And, he was just talking about, the devourer or something. And for me, a light just came. And I was like, I probably experienced that whole thing, the whole stuff about, the devourer, stuff like that. I probably experienced it. But it was the light from what he was sharing that brought, a lot of context to me. So, the times how I could just write a simple message, you're valued, you're a gift and everything. So that psychological and emotional, support, Fisaya would just, message, oh, how are you, sir? I hope you're good. Check up on me, just things like that. The help just comes in different ways, and I'm really, really grateful. And then I think this would be like the last thought for me. I've learned to be brave. And I've learned what courage means in this season. I've not always had it my way. And things haven't always fallen in place for me the way I would have wanted it to. Right? things haven't always fallen in place that way for me. But the problem I've had is that I've always thought that it was peculiar to me, that the setbacks, the issues, the challenges were peculiar to me. And there were many times where I would equate it to, or not really equate it, but I'd look at my life and the life of other people and be like, oh, this person is moving forward in this area, this person is moving forward in these areas because they have this support, this support. But the truth is that they too had to overcome certain challenges. They're not just saying, right, what it is, but they had to be brave and weather the storm through that situation. And even in their present exalted state, it's not their final destination, right? And they're still pushing through other challenges, still going through it. It's just that their current state is my hope, my desire, right? So I look at it like, oh, if I reach there, I've attained and things will be easier. No, but they're always navigating through those situations, right? But they're doing it with courage, they're doing it, they're brave. I've realized in this season that faith is truly an action word. Faith is truly an action word, that you've got to step out in faith and just do stuff. Believe God. So the Bible says, I believe, let's just say paraphrasing, that God will bless the work of your hands. If your hands are not working, there's nothing to be blessed. Right? If your hands are not working, there's nothing to be blessed. If I'm not doing, God cannot put the power to prosper on anything that has not been formed. He cannot put the power to prosper on just an idea. It has to be worked out in some way. So the Bible says that faith without works is dead, right? So it's like if my faith stops at a concept, right, it cannot become a living thing. It cannot produce anything for me. So I have to be able to connect my action, my belief, my convictions into actions. I need to convert it into that. Not learn just to be courageous, and I will be courageous. I will be courageous, and I will do things, and I will try things, and not despise the things that God has given me, But yeah, so look at me. I still have it in me. After saying I don't know what to say, I've done 23 minutes of talk. But it's really nice to be back, and I still covet prayers, that God will help me still navigate through this season and come out strong, right? So yeah, it's nice to be back, Tyler. So yeah, let me sign out and get upstairs and start working. And you'd hear from me soon, right? Remember that I love you, I believe in you, and I'm always rooting for you. Have an awesome day.